Estamos en pleno parón de selecciones y queríamos buscar un lugar especial donde vivir el Non-League Day y hemos elegido el mejor de todos, Eli.
Nos hemos venido, muchachos, al sur de Londres para conocer de cerca al Dulwich Hamlet.
Estamos en el sur de Londres, en una zona rodeada de árboles, con casitas que no están nada mal, que por lo general, si das una vuelta por aquí, lo último que te esperas es un estadio como este. Pero es que el Dulwich Hamlet, Ilie, es un club realmente especial por su localización, por lo bonito que es el estadio, por su equipación, que mola mucho, y porque además es un club que no se ha rendido para que precisamente no le echen de aquí.
Sí, el Dulwich Hamlet es un club histórico, es un club fundado a finales del siglo XIX, 1893.
Cuidado,
Es un club, sí, es un club centenario, más de 125 años de historia, como bien decía Nacho, en el sur de Londres. Es un club que siempre se ha movido en las divisiones no profesionales del fútbol inglés y que de hecho actualmente está jugando en la división más alta que ha jugado nunca en toda su historia, que es la National League South, es la sexta división, la zona sur. Es un club que ha tenido que superar muchas dificultades en los últimos tiempos. En 2018, como sucede en muchos clubes ingleses, en el caso del Dulwich, una empresa promotora es propietaria del terreno de juego, del estadio, y el club funciona aparte. En 2018 hubo una desavenencia entre las dos partes y el club fue expulsado del que es su estadio, el que utiliza como su estadio, y tuvo que jugar un tiempo lejos de aquí. Finalmente ha logrado regresar y vuelve a jugar en Champion Hill, que este es su estadio, ha jugado en estos terrenos desde 1912.
Yeah, so like many clubs, we don't own the stadium. So when there was a dispute between the people that own the stadium and the local authority about what should happen to the site, the club was locked out and we were evicted, and we had to go and play in southwest London, and it meant the end of the club because people couldn't get there, the crowds dropped, and you can earn no income when you're playing at somebody else's stadium. So that's why I was brought in, and it was really just to bring all of those people back together and say, look, there's a club here, and the club's the important thing to protect because it's been here for, at that point, 125 years. And fortunately, everybody did understand the value of the club. So now we're back, and we're going through the process of an application to build a new stadium because this one is unfortunately no longer fit for purpose. And we're at a really important point now where it's been approved, but there's a few people challenging it. So in the next few weeks, we will know whether the club is going to be around for the next 100 years.
Back in 2018, we were kicked out of this ground, so this was all fenced off, and we had to play 8 miles away, which doesn't sound far, but in South London that's about an hour and a half's drive. So we played there at Tooting Stadium, and we went to the playoff finals, and then we got promoted, and that's the first time we got up to this level that we're at today. And it was down to penalties, and then we won, and everyone's on the pitch, and it's like an absolute carnival. And then everyone comes back to Dulwich, and we basically took over a roundabout in the road around the corner, like just half a mile down the road, and we stayed there and partied till like 2 in the morning. We stopped the traffic, the police were involved. It was like absolute champagne everywhere, and that sort of sums up, the whole community out there. Dulwich Hamlet stopped the traffic. It was like, it was absolutely amazing. And that's the sort of like, you'll see people with palm trees tattooed all over them because there's a palm tree in the middle of the roundabout, and it's sort of like, promotion roundabout became a thing.
I assume the police was involved, like partying with you.
Partying with us, yeah, absolutely. I think they were sort of like, there's a disturbance, and they turned up and they went, this is not a disturbance, this is a party, and they got like fully involved in it as well. So, yeah, it was great, and we were all there. There must have been like, 500 people just out till 2 in the morning, just getting drunk and celebrating. So yeah, it's good. So there's that, and I think also on a sort of slightly more serious point, when we got kicked out of this ground, we needed to do some work with the Tanner is going to come on now. We needed to do some work with the politicians to fight for our case and fight for our survival. So a few of us kind of came together and we briefed the MP, the Member of Parliament, and we had a debate in the House of Commons about the future of football and football ownership and all of that sort of stuff. And I think that was personally quite a proud moment to see us being talked of in the House of Commons, and that kind of paved the way for where we are today.
Well, that's the irony, because I think if you ask a lot of people what the big moment was, certainly in recent history, it was promotion to this level, to level 6, which we'd never played at in 125 years. But we weren't here, we were away from home, we were playing in another stadium. So that was a really strange day, because on the pitch it was the best day, but we also knew it's probably the beginning of the end of the club. But the reason it was everyone's favourite moment was everyone came back to this community. They came back to the Lordship Lane, back to the roundabout, which is now Promotion Roundabout. They were in the pubs, they were back in their community. And I think that was the moment when everyone realised what they'd missed at 3 p.m. came back here at 7 p.m. and it drove the club back into the heart of the community, and it really helped us with the argument of why we had to come back and get home.
And there is a funny story about a banner that we saw there. It was I thought it was a really fun story. It's a banner that says "Benvenuti in Toscana."
Yes.
What's the origin of this banner?
So this isn't the first problem we've had building stadiums. As I say, we've been on 4 different sites here over the years since 1893, and when we came to this site, again there was some opposition to a football stadium being built. And someone famously stood up in the meeting saying, it's awful you're going to build here. When I look out my window, it's like the rolling hills of Tuscany. And 35 years later, we now still refer to ourselves as Tuscany. I can't claim it's actually like the rolling hills, but at least we've got a sign. Yeah.
Otra de las cosas que llama la atención, más aún cuando estás ya en Champion Hill, es la idiosincrasia del Dulwich Hamlet, porque es un equipo que, más allá de ser un club de fútbol, también tiene un fuerte compromiso con su comunidad, desde un punto de vista de ser un club contra la xenofobia, contra la homofobia, muy implicado a la hora de dar cabida a todas las personas que rodean a esta institución dentro del Dulwich Hamlet, e incluso, si vemos algunas de las vallas publicitarias que hay en el estadio, abogan porque no se venda comida basura en el estadio, que no se publiciten casas de apuestas en este recinto. Por tanto, también es un club que da unos valores a su comunidad que hablan de fuerte compromiso con ella.
Sí, es un club que predica con el ejemplo. Lógicamente muchos clubes necesitan el dinero de las casas de apuestas o de cualquier marca prácticamente que quiera invertir en el club. En el caso del Dulwich Hamlet practican, digamos, llevan a la práctica esos valores rechazando patrocinios, por ejemplo, de casas de apuestas. Además de las casas de apuestas, la comida basura que comentaba Nacho, también, por ejemplo, alrededor del estadio hay un gran cartel de "No compres The Sun", ya sabéis, el tabloide inglés con el que también tiene una cruzada abierta el Liverpool, los aficionados del Liverpool, desde hace varias décadas.
Aquí mismo, justo encima de nosotros, hay un lema que lo define muy bien: en este club cabe todo el mundo.
Dulwich Hamlet is a 6th division club right now. In fact it's the highest tier they have in more than 100-year history. What makes this club special, according to you? What makes it different from all the other football clubs, not just in London, but all across the country in the non-league football?
I think 3 things: community, inclusivity, and causes. So we welcome everyone. People that come here once come back all the time, but also we fight for things. We stand up, we will be counted, we'll make a stand when something needs to change, whether it's in football or in the wider community. And I think a lot of other clubs don't do as much as that as they could.
So, Tim, first of all, we wanted to understand what's the role of the supporters club in Dulwich Hamlet. I understand you have 24%. 34.
34, yeah. So over a third, yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. So we've been around for about maybe 20 years now, and we basically gathered together as fans of the club to kind of keep an eye on what's going on, right? A little bit of oversight, a little bit of governance, to keep the club honest and to keep us sort of like, against our values and our ethos as an inclusive and welcoming club. So that's kind of where the trust is. We've currently got about maybe 500 members who are all fans who live in the local community. And I've been directly involved in it. I've been a member for 10 years and I've been on the trust board for the last 3.
You have representatives at board level.
Yep.
And if someone wants to become a member of the supporters club, what they have to do? It's just free. They have to pay.
So we charge £10 a year, and that's basically so that people make an investment as opposed to just sort of ticking a box. So they actually committed to joining, and that's it. Basically, you fill in a form and you become a member. And then we communicate. We basically send probably 5 or 6 emails every year out, just giving everyone an update of what's happening with the club. New stadium designs, all of that sort of stuff. But we also do all of the merchandise as well. So all of the scarves and t-shirts, we make that and we sell that, and all of that money goes back into the club.
And you have been a member of the supporters club for a decade now. You were already a supporter of the club before. How did you become associated with the club as a supporter in the first place?
I started life as a Manchester United fan, and partly living in London. Manchester's 200 miles away, but also the money and the sort of the greed and the sort of the big machine of the Premier League. I started to get disillusioned by what was happening, and now you're seeing the Glazers maybe leaving the club for the Qataris are coming in, and it's all, it's not about football anymore. This is in the community, and everyone here lives locally, and everyone's totally involved in it. And we have a direct impact on the football, and that's what I kind of fell in love with. I got disillusioned with the Premier League, and this was here for us. And you can have a direct impact on it, so it kind of makes a lot more sense.
So given this way that you fell in love with Nordic football, what would you say that makes it so special to be a Dulwich fan compared to Jason?
It's a good question. I think we have a unique ethos, the way that we respect the community, the way we are inclusive. So you'll see, you can't see it now, but there's we have a rainbow stripe painted onto the floor. Everybody is welcome at our club, and that's really important to us. And I think the amount of work that we do in the community, we're an absolute hub for the area, for not just East Dulwich, but all of the sort of the towns around us. We do charity, we raise money for refugees. We were the first team to play Stonewall, a friendly a couple of seasons ago. So that's the ethos of the club, and that's sort of what everyone falls in love with when they come here.
You talked about 3 points, let's say community, inclusiveness. I want to ask you about community. So what exactly you do, what's your relationship with the community, how the football club helps the community?
Yeah, so number one is we invite everybody in, whether that's local sports clubs, schools, charities. We do a lot of outreach in the local, shops and retail community as well. So we make sure everybody understands there's a club here, and that we're here to support them as much as they, as they are to support us. So what we find is, for example, if you invite a school, you bring down all their pupils for free and their families, and then they love it, so they will come back. And they understand, how their school is linked to, to the football club. So I think it's constantly looking outside of the 4 walls is the important thing.
And regarding inclusiveness, I understand, and as a fan, we all have experienced this feeling of being in a football pitch and not feeling welcome. We all have experienced this. whether traveling with your own club or how do you make sure that this is not the case here? So what do you do to make people feel welcome to the club?
I mean, first of all, people are greeted here like they're home fans. You know, we don't treat away fans negatively, and I find that's my experience, unfortunately, when we go away. So we first of all make it as inclusive as possible for both teams, and then it's about other groups that maybe don't feel welcome in football, not just at football grounds. So we do a lot of work, against for LGBTQ plus. It's a lot of anti-homophobia. This Friday we've got the first ever match between trans men and men's football team on Friday night, which has never happened anywhere before. So it's not just standing up for causes; it's actually doing practical things in your ground that make people say, "Well, I can be here and I can be part of this."
Many people that follow us come to London quite often, and they visit, they watch games at Premier League stadiums. But I want you to convince them to come here. So, for instance, advantages. You can have a beer while watching a football match.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
How much a ticket cost for a game?
Well, that's the other thing. We're the lowest price in this level. So here it's £12. You won't find a cheaper ticket at level 6, and we think that's really important. We haven't raised prices at all, even when prices are shooting up, because I think you've got to make it accessible. So even when we do have to look at pricing, we look at the whole day. It is what can people do when they're here? What does it cost to come, to have a beer, to get some food? What does it cost the whole family? That's really important to us.
And of course they will feel welcome, so
yes,
it will be a great experience for them. It's in London, South London, so from Waterloo it's half an hour, from London Bridge it's half an hour.
Yeah.
Especially if the train works.
Yeah, it's great. We've got a great bus.
Every day.
No, not today, but we've got a great bus network. We've got 8 buses that go past the stadium. You can get to anywhere from here. We are probably the closest club, to the centre of London. It's so easy to get to. It's such a good day out, and as someone that also follows Premier League football, it's such a different experience. And I don't even think it's which one's best. You just have to accept they're very different days out, and you come here for a very different reason. And I come here for the friendship, for the community, for the football, to be part of something, and that's what you don't really get at the higher levels at the moment.
And even if they want a cool kit to wear, I can't recall any other team that wears pink and blue. So
yeah, we're famous for our kits. We get a new design every year. People love them, and people are opinionated. There's some they really don't like, and they tell us not again. But no, it's a great kit, and that's what I love. When I live at the top of the hill. I walk down the lane, and on Saturday afternoon, I'm here a bit earlier today, so I didn't get to do it. I just see so many scarves, so many shirts, so many pubs full that are doing so well in the community as a result of this club being here. And then it's wonderful that they all get up and they all walk to the same place and they come together, and 3,000 people will be in the same place, which for this level is unheard of.
No secret that for us and for our community, Peter Crouch is like an idol. So you had him here at the office and also at the pitch. So do you have any story about Peter Crouch at Dulwich that you can recall?
Yeah, it was great because he played here.
Yeah.
Not very much. He was playing at Spurs and they loaned him out to get some.
Like really skinny.
Yeah, absolutely. And my favourite moment was actually introducing him to the fans. Back then there weren't many that actually watched him, and he was like, "Oh my, I can't believe it! Somebody actually saw me playing as a 17-year-old," and because they were quite honest, they were like, "Well, you weren't that good actually." But so that was the best moment. It really brought him down to earth on day one. That he knew he wasn't going to, just sail through this.
El partido que hemos venido a ver del Dulwich Hamlet contra el Oxford City ha acabado 2-2 y ahora mismo el club de Londres está en una zona complicada peleando por no bajar a la séptima división, pero Yale para nosotros nos ha ganado para siempre.
El Dulwich es un equipo, es un club estupendo, es un club histórico, es un club acogedor, es un club familiar, es una experiencia fantástica ver un partido aquí a Champion Hill, así que en caso de que estéis en Londres de visita y queráis acudir a algún partido lejos de los focos de la Premier League, desde luego el Dulwich Hamlet es una opción estupenda. Tienen muchos retos por delante en el club, en el corto plazo mantener esta sexta división, la más alta que han estado nunca en toda su historia, y también ya en el medio largo plazo la desaparición de este estadio de Champion Hill y la construcción de un nuevo estadio justo al lado de donde se ubica este actual estadio del Dulwich Hamlet. Muchos retos que esperamos que sorteen y esperamos estar aquí para contarlo.
Suerte al Dulwich Hamlet.
Si quieres apoyar este proyecto, no dudes en hacerte miembro por el precio de una cerveza al mes.